Okay. I'm just going to read the Mishnah again. I'm not going to, go through the whole theory behind it because the Gemara is really going to talk about what we talk about. We're up to the Mishnah on Kuf. Hold on a second. I'm just going to share to the. Sorry. I'm just going to share this yesterday's to the Daf Yomi. Okay. Yeah, sometimes that happens. So we're on Kuf Lamed Daled Amud Aleph. The Mishnah on the bottom. Ha'omer zebni neman. Someone says, "This is my son," and he's we'll see the Gabi what it's negay. It's going to be negay legabi Yerusha. But first of all, it's negay. I'm sorry, not legabi. It's negay legabi Yerusha, but it's the Gemara is going to say it's negay legabi getting his wife out of Yibam. But we're going to focus in the Mishnah on the Yerusha part. Ze achi, if he says this is my brother, ein neman. He can't say, we gave the case yesterday, right? Ruvain is Yaakov's son, and he says, I have a heretofore unknown brother, and he has a brother Shimon who is very well aware of this. And Shimon says, I don't know anything about this brother. And this other person who's the brother also says, I don't know anything about it. So he's not neman to say that Shimon should lose any portion of his Yerusha from Yaakov. But this brother, he's not neman to say Shimon should lose out, but Reuven will lose out from his portion. Like we said, if there were $300 of Yerusha, so this Reuven will give up $50 of it, and Shimon will get his full 150. And so Reuven will end up with 100. The new brother will get 50, and Shimon will get his 150. Mace, if this unknown brother dies, Yachzur nechasam l'mkaimen. The $50 that Reuven had given up by admitting that this brother was his brother will go back to Reuven because Shimon never had a right to it. Nafal nechasim imalkam acher. If new nechasim came to this brother, this unknown brother, and then he died, Yarshu acharimai. Then Shimon will share in those. Shimon only doesn't get a right to the 50 because he never chipped in. He never paid from Yaakov's Yerusha toward this brother. He denied it. So now he can't go and say, I want to split the $50 that Reuven gave him. Reuven gave purely out of his own chelek, and now he gets to take it back. Of course, where that brother didn't have any Yarsha. So Zok the Gemara. Zebni Neman. The first thing that we said in the Mishnah, before we got into the brothers, the complications, we said if Yaakov says to Reuven and Shimon, you have an unknown brother, and you have to share the $300 of Yerusha with him. Lamaina Mahil. So what is this negeya? It's negeya for two things. First of all, Yaakov is going to saying that you have to give a third of the Yerusha to this brother that you didn't know about, and he's neman for that. And also, now that he has, let's say there was no Reuven and Shimon, and he said, I have a son, now Yaakov's wife will not be neifel yibum. She doesn't need chalitza from Yaakov's brother. So frak the Gemara, liyarsha pshita. What do you need the Mishnah to tell you that he could say that the son is Yerush? We already had this before. A person could just give a matana to this person. So if he wants to, he could have just handed it over to him. So of course he's neman to say that this is his son. Zakdamara, lifter es ishtay min yibam. It's trichle. We need it for the part about yibam einachanami. It's taka true. That's a simple matter of logic that he can say it's not that he's my son, the guy be getting Yerusha. But if he wants to excuse his wife from being neifel yibam and requiring a chalitza from his brother, that's what the Mishnah is coming to tell you.
Did we have this Gemara a little bit earlier about his?
If he says it's my son,
yeah, about the fact that about his.
We said that migu, right? We had this migu that a person, since he could give something, he has the right to say. I think we said it.
Because we were wondering if he's making him he might be making him a mamzer.
A what?
A mamzer. We had a question with Yochsin. Because if he says this is my son, his wife's denying it, obviously, or
That's not a mom.
Something, it could be, I mean,
That's not a mom. So no, that was a different case.
but we didn't have anything with Yochsen.
What did he say? What he said, right? He said, "This is my bechor." His wife gave birth to someone, and he said,
Right.
"This is the bechor." So it means the other son, who until now was
Was
supposed to be the bechor,
right.
something like that. I think that's
Yeah.
yeah. But that was like, it wasn't even the Gemara. That was the pshat of Taisus, I think.
No, I was just saying, I'm
Explain like
wondering why
how
the
he had
Gemara doesn't
nemanis.
bring in anything about Yochsen.
Yeah,
Am I Hilchasa?
yeah. But in any case, yeah, you're saying what if he's saying it's my son, might should have negias legabi yuchsin. We have to figure out exactly what. Just to say that he had a wife, he had a son out of wedlock, let's say with a single woman, is
No,
not.
right, I'm saying,
Yeah,
but there's some
it could theoretically, but it doesn't seem to be that's what we're saying. We're saying lifteris ishtaim neyibim. We're talking about what he's saying. It's from this wife. It just no one knew about it. He had
right.
earlier, and he gave up for adoption. Correct. The Gemara Hanami Tanina. You don't even need the Mishnah doesn't even have to say that he's Naman to pater his wife from Yibam, because we have a Mishnah for that as well. Misha Amar B'Shas Misasai Yeshli Banim Naman. Someone who says as he's dying, and they go to him and they say, "What's the deal with your wife? Does she be Neifel Yibam?" We say Yeshli Banim. If he says I have sons, he's Naman, even though no one knows about. Right? He's in Florida. He's in a condo in Florida, and they see him with he's living next door to his brother. They're both 90 years old, and no one has ever seen anyone to come visit them. And he says, "Don't worry, my wife is not Neifel Yibam because I have sons that I'm estranged from." Yeshli Achen Einenemen. If someone says, however, I have brothers, meaning the same case, he's living in a condo in Florida, and he has no children. And as he's getting married, he says he's going to give one last slap in the face with Gladys that he's been fighting with for the last 50 years. And he tells everyone, oh, by the way, I have a brother. So if Gladys wants to remarry, she's going to have to track down that brother and get a chalitza from him. He's not Neman. He's not Neman to stop, to create the Yibam situation. He is Neman to stop the Yibam situation. So l'chayru we see from here that a person, but we see the first part, he is Neman to say he has banim. Zak Gemara, no. Hasim d'loy muchzak loy ba'ach. Over there, that which we said, yesh li banim Neman, is talking about where there's no chazaka, even that he has it's not where he has a brother living in the condo next to him, and he says, I have a son to stop me from even. We're talking about even that was besafik. Means we don't know that he has a brother in the first place. Secondly, we don't know if he has a son. So if he says, I happen to have a son, so since it's a sveka to begin with, we don't know if he has a brother, and even if a brother maybe has a son. So now we believe him that he has a son to excuse him from being nafil to yibam. Our Mishnah is saying an additional chiddush, even if we already know that he has a brother. So we are in the situation where he's nafil, he could theoretically be nafil yibam. He's believed to say he has a son. Amr of Yosef, Amr of Yehuda, Amr Shmuel. Why is it that that if someone says I have that he have a son, he's believed? Why taka is it like this, right? We're saying even where it's muhsik that he has a brother, if he says I have a son, he's believed. Why is he believed? Since we know that the halacha is that if he would have said I divorced my wife, he would be neman. If this is, let's say this is Yaakov, right, who's the one who's in the condo in Florida, and he's saying I have a son, he could have said, rather than saying he has a son, he could have said I divorced Gladys a year ago, and then she's certainly not Neifel Yibam. Amr of Yosef, Mori de Avram. Yosef objected to this teretz. How could you say such thing? Tali Tanya b'delay Tanya? You're saying since if he would have claimed that my wife I divorced my wife a year ago, I'd be believed. Who told you that? You're saying the reason why he's Naman Lagabi's son is because he would be Naman to say, I divorced my wife. We don't know that. You're just saying that as a Veda, as if it's accepted by all, but there's no brisa for that. So you bring a raya, the explanation from the Mishnah, from something that you made up. Ella,
Does it say anywhere that a Baal Shem Migrash is Sishti Neman? Is that what he's saying?
Legabi, Legabi Yibum? No. But we're gonna see it's gonna be a matter of some we're gonna have some dispute about whether it's even true and under what circumstances he can say that. But there's no Mishnah that says, there's no brisa. It's just we'll see that. Well, the reason why he would be, it's essentially a migu, right? He could divorce his wife, and he could divorce his wife even right now as long as he's alive. So the Gemara is going to say, Eliyit Mahachir. We're going to say a closely related taina. The Amar of Yehuda Amar Shmuel, or just Shmuel, we're going to reinterpret or characterize what Shmuel is saying. Neima Amru Zebani Neman, Hoil Biyade Lagarsh. We're saying since he has the ability, we're not saying since he would have said that there's Megorashes, which is a din and we don't have a support for. But he definitely could divorce her now. So saying the reason he's believed is because he has the kayach to do so. Not because he could say I did it already, but because he could do it right now. So that's a svara. That's not a halacha. Right? He does certainly can divorce his wife. Now Rabbi Yosef goes back. Rabbi Yosef. Hashta da amrit amrin and hoyel. Now that we're saying that the Baal is not meant to say, my son died, because he could say, because he has the ability to divorce her now. Baal Shamagras says, Shishi Neban, so now we can prove that original halacha is also true. That means, although we don't have a support for it, so we can't use that as our reliance on authority to say, we say, Sha'amar Garash Shishi Neman. But Lamaisa, the halacha is like that because he could divorce her now. He could also say that I had previously divorced her. He also Rav Yitzchak by Yosef, Rav Yochanan. But however, there's a fly in the ointment. Rav Yitzchak by Yosef says, he disagrees with this conclusion. He says, although you have a migu, right, that you just said that he could say, the husband could say, I'm claiming I divorced her a year ago, and you should believe me because I'm able to divorce her right now. He says this is essentially a migu b'makam edim, which this is a phrase that's often used. When we say migu b'makam edim, we don't mean that there are two edim. We mean very often keneged and anansadi. And if a man had divorced his wife, it was likely that Rabbi Shlomo says, it's likely there'd be a koil, people would know about it. So you're trying to use a migu to overcome the fact that nobody heard about this divorce. We're not going to believe you. A migu does not have the kayach to overturn a strong anansadi that it would likely people would hear about it. So he disagrees with this conclusion that you can extrapolate from the fact that he could divorce her now. Therefore, he could even say I previously divorced her. This is his version of Rabbi Yochanan. So we have two different versions of Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yosef has said that you do say hayel, and he can say he previously divorced her. And now Rabbi Yitzchak by Yosef says b'shem Rabbi Yochanan that you can't, because they disagree about whether it's a migu b'makam edim. Right? You look a little confused, Lizzie.
No. I mean, there's a migu anyways, even if because he could divorce her now.
So he could divorce her. If he divorces her, sure, that's going to take care of all our problems. But if he insists, I'm not divorcing her because I divorced her a year ago. So we said, so according to this second shita, Rav Yitzchak by Yosef, we would say she's going to have to get a chalitza from her brother because we don't believe him, because to believe somebody that he divorced his wife and nobody knew about it up until now, right? He's been living with her. They've been living happily together in the condo. Everyone sees them going out for their Shabbos walks every Shabbos. And now he claims, I divorced her a year ago and I just never told anyone. We don't believe him. Even though he could divorce her now, we say he didn't, it's not true. As we're going to see, it's going to be an afkamina. They're going to be an afkaminas about whether he divorced her later or not. And that's going to be a big machloikas. In any case, this is his shita, that migu doesn't help. Minafeach Rav Sheshes biyadei, azalei hayel de Rav Yosef. Rav Sheshes was very pleased with this argument, and he waved his hands, and he said, you know what, you taka are right, you've dispensed with, you've blown away the hayel, this migu, that Rabbi Yosef wanted to say that he could even be believed to say I previously divorced her. We have a statement from Rabbi Bar who says that a Baal Amagurash is Neman. So again, this is support to Rabbi Yosef's version of Rabbi Yochanan that he's not worried about this migu b'makom edim, and he says he is Neman. No, even though we have a statement that says that he is Neman to say she's divorced, it's going to depend on whether he's saying it lemafreya, if he's saying I divorced her a year ago, or if he's saying I want to be believed that I divorced her yesterday or today. I'm not divorcing her again because I could divorce her right now, and I just divorced her now. The nafkamina will be, let's say she had a very public marriage 6 months ago. She married a different person. So, or she was seen living together with another man. So, if he's Nemon to say that he was megarish her a year ago, so that what she was married to, or she was born a different man 6 months ago, is not going to be in sin. She's going to be Isha Pnuya. But so if it only goes forward. But then he's not going to be believed she was divorced a year ago, and so she's going to have been living in sin. She's going to become a halala. I don't know if it's not edim, whatever the case may be. But if the gerushin only is considered, the migo only helps going forward, it's not going to help what she did in the past.
But it will help to part her from Yibam.
I'm sorry.
It would help to make a part from Yibam.
Right.
So in essence,
you can't say the hayel.
It is a proof to what we were looking for the whole time.
Right. So this is like a partial acceptance. It's a limitation on the acceptance of the shita that we don't say. I guess it's sort of almost a full acceptance. I mean, it's because we're really saying the whole reason we're saying the issue is not anan sadi. It's not a migu b'makom edim, because she's saying for right now, there's no edim that say that that we would have heard about it. I guess even if it was yesterday, we would have heard about it. So he doesn't hold of that shita, but he holds that he is believed going forward, but not lemafreya, right? Because obviously it's not, and it makes sense. It's hard to see why anyone would argue on this, but it's sort of splitting it in the sense that he says we do believe that since he has a migu that he was megarisha, but it can't affect things that he wouldn't have been able to do by being megarisha now. On the one hand, we're not worried about the anan sadi that we would have heard a call, because we do accept that she's megureshas, but it's not going to work lemafrei. So now that we came to this, amala mafreya maula nua lehaba. What happened if rather than saying I divorced her yesterday, so we just said that he's believed on. What if he said I divorced her a year ago? So we just said we're not going to be miming her that if she was born someone 6 months ago that she's off the hook. But let's say there's no such thing, nothing like that happened. But he's saying it happens to be I divorced her a year ago. And we're not concerned about that. We're not concerned about the anan sadi that we would have heard about it. But we said we don't believe it lemafreya because he can't affect things that are out of his control. But can we believe him that she was divorced a year ago, legabi going from this point on, for example, legabi to pater her from Yibum? Mi palgina dibura or loy palgina dibura? So this is the old question of palgina dibura. Do we say, listen, he's not nemon to say they were divorced a year ago, in full, because like we said, if she was born someone, she's going to be chayiv. She's going to be treated as if been born on an Eishes. He doesn't have the ability to affect a Gerushin a year ago, so therefore he's not believed. But do we say we believe him only going forward? Can we split his words, his nemanos, and say it applies partially yes, we believe him, partially not? Rav Mori b'chad Rav Zvid chadam v'paginan b'chadam olei paginan. One says we do divide it, and therefore he is believed going forward, and one says no. Practical Gemara. How is this different from the general question of Hagin and Debura that we have all around Shas? The Amarava, Ish Ploini Baal Ishtay. This is the classic case of Hagin and Debura. If Reuven says that Levi was born my wife, and then Hu va'acher mitztarfen lahargay. So Reuven cannot say Edis about Reuven can't say about his own wife Edis, but he can't say about Levi Edis. So the question is, can he join with Shimon? There are no brothers over here, right? These are all unrelated people. Can Reuven join with Shimon to say Edis that Levi was born Reuven's wife? Reuven is not related to Levi. There's no reason why he can't say Edis about Levi, and Shimon is an unrelated party. However, Reuven is not able to say, he's saying about this Maises Nus, that it occurred between Levi and his own wife. So Lagabi, his own wife, he's not neman to say Edis. So we say he is believed, because Palgin and Dibura, we say we believe him Lagabi Levi, that Levi should be Mechayiv Misa, and but he's not believed Lagabi his wife. So we believe this, he saw this act, but we only apply it to one of the participants. So he can only kill Levi, but he can't kill his own wife. A person can't testify against right in his own wife. So l'chayra, we see from here that we do say Palgin and Dibura. So why did we say how do we explain the man Amr who says Loy Palgin and Dibura over here? So Gemara, no, there's an afkamina. Betray gufe Palginon, bechad gufe Loy Palginon. Over there, he's saying Edis about Levi, and he's not believed Lagabi his wife. So that's two separate people. Over here, we're saying we want him to be believed Lagabi his wife, that he divorced her right now, but he's not believed that he divorced her a year ago. So you can't divide up the Edis about one person and say part of what he said about this person is believed and part of it isn't. To say, I believe you Lagabi person A, but not Lagabi person B, that we do say Palgin and Tibura. But to split the act when it's only negeya to one person, that you don't say Palgin and Tibura. Who did have a kashachav? There was a man who was in the midst of dying. Armulei is to say Laman. They asked him, "Who is your wife mutter to marry?" Amruluhu chazir lekahana rabba. She's mutter to the kohen gadol. Now the Rashbam says immediately. Obviously, this is hyperbole. When he says she's mutter to the kohen gadol, it's impossible because anyone who's previously married is not mutter to the kohen gadol. So the whole discussion has to be re-characterized. When he says Issei Laman, he means they were asking him, is she mutter to marry to the world without a chiyuv of chalitza? Meaning is, do you have any sons? Are there any brothers? And he's saying back, no, she's mutter to everyone. Amarava, or Rabba, my nechashla. What's there to worry about? Amarav Kiyabar Rabba, Amarav Yechon Baal Sham Garash This is she neman. Like we said, a person is neman, and we said he's neman lahaba. So if he's saying she's mutter, he could say, I divorced her now. So he has a migo that he could have just said he's megarish. If he's saying she's mutter, why wouldn't he believe? He said, so what is your problem? We said it's not believed lemafreya, but he is believed lahaba. So if he's saying she's mutter, why isn't he neman? He could be saying that she never had a brother, or he never had a son, or he had a son, or he could be saying that she's megurasha, that I was megarisha. But in any case, he's believed to say it. So lahaba, and he wants to say that she's not neifel yibam. So that could be currently. Are you going to go so far as to say that because of this teretz that we said it's talking about lamafrei and lahaba? That was the way the Gemara that was talking and learning. Do we know that that's taka the pshat? We know that he said a person who said garash shisi is any neman. Are you not at least a little bit worried that we say there's the anan sadi that he can't be chayzer, he can't use the migu to go against the koil that we know that he would have heard that she's divorced, and he didn't say that he had a son, and he didn't say that he has a brother. So you're imputing into him that he could have said, "My wife is I divorced her," but maybe he wouldn't be neman if he said that. Oh, so Amalei Ravaler of Nasan Barami Choshla Einachanami Lahalacha. You have to be chayshish for that possibility that we don't answer that it's Sugam Lafrei or Laba, and therefore you have to be chayshish that she might not be mutter, and she has to get a chalitza if there's a brother. Yeah, so we're talking about. The Rashbam actually said we're talking about over here. We know he has a brother, so we're going to go chase down that brother and get a chalitza from him. Ahuda have a mufsaklon the Leslie Achi. There was a chazaka that he didn't have brothers. V'amar b'shas misa the Leslie Achi, and he said b'shas misa he doesn't have brothers. Amar of Yosef my leichashlo. What are we chayshish for? Chada the mufsaklon the Leslie Achi. V'ayda amar b'shas misa the Leslie. So what's there to be chayshish for? So we're saying, like he said, I don't have any brothers, so there's no reason for it to be neifel yibum. So we have the chazak on his side, and he's also saying it. So what's the discussion? Amalei Abaya Amri the Ika Edom Medinas Hayam the Yadi de Isleachi. We're talking about a case where there's a rumor. It's not that there are actually Edom, but people are saying that there are Edom that know that. So there's a rumor going around that there are Edom who say that he has brothers. But in the meantime, we don't have these Edom here. Just a rumor that there are such Edom. Lav hainu Rav Chanina. Is this not the din of Rav Chanina? Rav Chanina. This we had back in Kedushin, I believe. Subas and Kedushin. Rav Chanina. Edom b'tzad asosan. Edom b'tzad asosan v'teyaser. We're talking about over here where women were captured. They were taken captive, which up till this year, whenever we had such Gemaras, I always said, like I was thinking about, 1,000 years ago, and now I realize it happened this year. And they were taken, and then nobody knows where they are, and then they come back. Well, it's not true. Women show up, and they say, we were taken captive, but nothing happened while we were captive. There's a takanas chachamim that women who were taken captive are also lekahuna, because we assume that the captors were born them. But in this case, they were the ones who said that they were captives. But it's hapesha also who hapesha hitcher. Since they're the ones who said that they captured, they also believe that nothing happened, that they weren't violated while they were captured. So Rav Chanina says, if there are people, if the people are saying that they're Edom, but no one knows where these Edom are, the Edom are not here in front of us, would we say that they're Aser? No, just because there's a potential Edom, until they're here in front of us, we don't give them any credence. So l'chayra, he says that's l'chayra should apply over here as well. Just because they are potential Edom that they are Achim, we don't give any credence to potential Edom until they're here. Abaya says, no, you can't bring a raya from there. And make kalnu b'shvuya, nekel be'eshes ish. We know there's a kula by shvuya. We don't want to aser women to kahuna because while they were shvuyas, there's a number of reasons given, because the women will make themselves unattractive while they're captured. They're going to do everything they can to avoid. They're not interested in having them being born them. So we give them a little extra push of nemanus when they're shvuya. But should we believe them Lagabi HSS, which is a little bit of a misnomer? We're not talking about HSS specifically, we're really talking about whether she's Neufel Yibum. He says, no, nevertheless, you have to be chayshish be right. So because of this svara, that this is different than the case of shvuya, we taka have to be chayshish, and therefore, if we're going to have to, I don't know what you're going to do exactly. You go investigate these edim, or I don't know how you're going to avoid. You can't get a chalitza, so it's sort of going to be aguna until you could clear this up. So now we're finally getting back to our mission. Ze achi eini neman, right? We said if someone says, I have a son, he's neman, and we said this is legabi yibum, because it's pasha that he could say, this is my son, to give him a Yerusha. But we said if he said this is, if Reuven said, I have a brother that Shimon didn't know about, he's not neman to take it away from Shimon. But like we said right at the beginning of this morning, but he is neman Lagabi, that so Reuven's going to have to give up a portion of his chelek. He only gets, like for example, whether it was $300, he's going to give 50 to this other brother, like we said, to Moshe. And but if Moshe dies, then Moshe, the $50 is going to go back to Reuven. But if Moshe got other property afterwards, then he's going to have to give. That's going to be split between Reuven and Shimon. So what is Shimon saying in this case? And we're just going to go through really what we discussed, we spoke. If Shimon is agreeing that Moshe is a brother, so why do we say that Moshe only gets from Reuven's chelek and not from Shimon? V'suloi. Why does he only take from Reuven and not from Shimon? If Shimon also is agreeing that he's a brother, then Moshe should split. He should get a full 100, just like the other two brothers. El Kamri Lavachinu, who El Shimon is saying he's not my brother. Ema Seifa. What about the Seifa? Nafal Nechasim Makamachar Yishu Achav Imai. Why do we say if other property came to Moshe, to the unknown brother who's now dead? Why do we say that Shimon participates? Amri Le Lavachunu. He said it's not my brother, which is really the question that we were discussing last night, right? If he denies that it's his brother, why now, all of a sudden, when Moshe dies and he won the lottery, now all of a sudden Shimon jumps in and says, I'm getting a full share of Moshe's property. You always claimed he wasn't your brother. So we're talking about Shimon is not saying it's not my brother and deferring to Reuven, but rather he's saying, he's saying, I don't know. I never heard that he's my brother. So if you insist that it's my brother, listen, you can't take away from me suffolk. But if Moshe has money, I'm happy to take it. He says this is the famous issue of Bari V'Shema. If someone says, if Reuven says to Shimon, you have $100 of mine by you, and Shimon says, I don't know, we're saying he's potter. So over here, it's the same thing. We're saying, so we're saying that even though the person who's saying, in our case, I shouldn't have said Reuven and Shimon, but in our case of the brothers with the unknown brother, Reuven is a vadai, is a bari, and Shimon is a shema. So when we're saying that the brothers that Shimon does not have to give any of the Yerusha to Moshe, when Yaakov dies, he gets his full 150, and only Reuven is taken away from himself. Even though Reuven is a bari and Shimon is a shema, even so, Shimon doesn't lose any part of the Yerusha. Abaye says no. It could be that bari v'shema yechayev, but over here, shani hachar to kamana la'acha biyadidam. Over here, Reuven is not saying, I get money. He's saying Shimon gets money. So it's not monali biyadcha, it's money la'achar. It's like when Reuven says, you owe money to Shimon. So that's not a bari v'shema. That's not the classic bari v'shema. That's where he's bari about someone else's claim. And that maybe, even the Manda Amma who says bari v'shema, that bari adif, and he wins, but he doesn't say when the bari is saying on behalf of someone else. Finally, the last portion of our Mishnah, we said if Moshe dies, whatever he had gotten from the Yerusha of Yaakov goes back to Reuven, but whatever comes after that, whatever came nechasim that kaboim la'achamikan, that Moshe acquired after the death of Yaakov, that will be divided half between Reuven and Shimon. Boy Rava, shvach sheshafku nechasim me'eleim ma'u. What about that it's not that Moshe got new properties, he won the lottery, but rather what he got from Yaakov increased in value. So b'shvach ha'magil ksafim le'tibelach. If it's fully grown, if it was karka and he planted and Moshe planted on its seeds and it grew into big wheat stalks that reaches his shoulders, that's not a question. That's really something that's fully complete and it's nothing to do with the karka anymore. It's as if he already gotten peiros out of the karka, and that's not part of the karka. Where he improved it, but it's still a potential improvement, but it hasn't really it came automatically, but it hasn't yet reached the point where it's ready to be harvested. And what's that? Kagoin dikla v'olim, like a palm tree that got stronger, but it didn't produce fruit yet. Arav iska shatan, or land that it dredged up some of the dirt and it got larger, like the riverbanks got bigger. What's the din on those? Do we consider them to be automatic increases on the part that the brother, it's basically still part of Yaakov's Yerusha, but it just got bigger? Or is it considered to be that something that Moshe added through it became part, it's something that increased to him, it's not part of the original Yerusha, and therefore it would belong not just to Reuven, but also to Shimon. Teku, the Gemara says, remains a teku. Okay, we're going to stop over here. Mez Hashem, tomorrow I expect to be on